In 2005, the quiet American town of Ocilla, Georgia, was shaken by a chilling event. A young teacher vanished without a trace from her own home. Leaving behind all her belongings, phone, and car, she simply disappeared into thin air. What began as a seemingly ordinary missing persons case quickly transformed into a real-life detective saga, gripping the local community with fear and distrust. Anyone in town could have been involved in the young woman's disappearance. It was only 12 years later that the shocking truth would finally come to light. Tara Grinstead, born on November 14, 1974 in Hawkinsville, Georgia, showed remarkable determination from a young age, actively participating in beauty pageants and even winning the Miss Tifton title in 1999. She saved all her earnings for her education. After earning her master's degree in education from Valdosta State University, Tara fulfilled her long-held dream of becoming a history teacher at Ocilla High School. Ocilla was a typical small, low-rise town with a population of less than 4,000, where everyone knew everyone. Life here was measured and calm, and no one could have imagined that such a horrific crime would occur in such a peaceful place. Tara quickly earned the love and respect of both colleagues and students. She was a genuinely kind and compassionate person, always ready to support and help. In October 2005, her support was especially crucial for her senior students who were preparing for a local beauty pageant. Given Tara's extensive experience in such events, the girls were thrilled to have her as their mentor. On Saturday, October 22, 2005, after helping her students with their final pageant preparations and having a picnic with friends, Tara returned home around 11 p.m. After parking her car under the carport, she stopped communicating. Her mother, who usually spoke with her regularly, became increasingly worried. This time, calls to Tara went unanswered. By Monday, October 24th, the concern peaked. Tara didn't show up for work. This was highly uncharacteristic for such a responsible teacher. She always notified her superiors if she'd be absent. Worried colleagues reported her missing to the police. Officer Billy Hancock arrived at Tara's address at 10 a.m. Assuming her phone was simply dead or she was ill, he found her car in its usual spot with unlocked doors. In a small town, this wasn't surprising, as residents rarely worried about car theft. However, he noticed an envelope with cash on the dashboard, which was unusual for someone as meticulous as Tara. After knocking on the door and getting no response, the officer decided to check inside the house. At first glance, everything seemed normal. No signs of a struggle or forced entry. But in Tara's bedroom, detectives found a real mess, completely out of character for her. Her belongings, including the clothes she was last seen wearing, were scattered on the floor. Her cell phone was on the nightstand, charging. Everything looked as if Tara had just stepped out briefly, but she was nowhere to be found. On the ground near the house, police discovered the first disturbing clue: a latex glove. This immediately led them to suspect a possible crime, as such gloves were rarely used in everyday life. From that point, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation joined the case. The primary theory became abduction. Besides the glove, detectives identified only two minor details. Tara's broken necklace lay on her bedroom floor, and her alarm clock was out of its usual place. These clues offered little help to the investigation. Experts managed to extract male DNA from the glove, but no matches were found in the FBI database. Tara had seemingly vanished into thin air. That Monday became a nightmare for Ocilla. Tara's house was cordoned off, and a meeting was held at the school. Colleagues and students formed volunteer groups, printing stacks of flyers with Tara's photo and information about her disappearance, which were posted throughout the town within hours. 2 weeks after the disappearance, police organized a large-scale search, which seemed quite belated, as it was clear from the outset that Tara had not left her home willingly. Hundreds of volunteers combed the surrounding areas, forests, ditches, and rivers of Ocilla. K-9 units with tracking dogs hoped to find a scent, but all efforts were in vain. During the search, a report came in about a burned house and car on Snapdragon Road near Tara's residence. Local residents almost unanimously connected this incident to her disappearance, possibly as an attempt to destroy evidence. However, the searches yielded no results, and the police faced a grim reality: they had no remaining leads. Investigators delved into Tara's personal life, assuming that someone in her close circle might be responsible. They examined all the men she had been involved with, but none emerged as an obvious suspect. Tara's longest relationship was with Marcus Harper, a former police officer and military serviceman. They had broken up at Tara's initiative about a year before her disappearance because she wanted to start a family, which Marcus wasn't ready for. Despite the breakup, they maintained a friendly relationship. Later, an interesting detail emerged. Marcus visited Ocilla 3 weeks before Tara's disappearance without telling her. When Tara learned of his visit from acquaintances, she became very upset and repeatedly called him, trying to understand why he hadn't informed her. Her emotional state escalated into a full-blown hysteria, and her family even worried if she might do something reckless. However, Tara soon recovered, and Marcus was not considered a suspect by the police. Police also learned that Tara had been threatened by a former student, Anthony Vickers. On March 30, 2005, 7 months before her disappearance, he aggressively tried to break into her home, forcing neighbors to call the police. It turned out that Vickers had been in love with his teacher since high school and, according to acquaintances, was emotionally unstable and exhibited disturbing behavior. Tara had tried to help him, but his mental state only worsened. After the incident, Tara filed a report, fearing for her safety. However, Vickers, who was working in a nearby town at the time of Tara's disappearance, provided an alibi for the night she vanished, and his involvement in the case could not be established. A business card belonging to a married police officer with whom Tara had been having an affair was also found in her home. He also provided an alibi. The list of suspects was exhausted, and there were no new leads. The subsequent years brought no breakthroughs for the police. It wasn't until 2009 that an event rekindled interest in Tara Grinstead's case. A user named Andrew Haley created a YouTube channel and uploaded a disturbing video. In the footage, a man with a distorted voice and obscured face claimed involvement in the disappearance of 16 women, including Tara Grinstead. He promised to provide clues to the burial sites in future videos. Police immediately investigated the video, and the FBI quickly tracked down the creator. Andrew Haley, then 27, was arrested and claimed it was just a joke. Despite no established connection to the missing women, he couldn't avoid court. For making false statements and tampering with evidence, he was sentenced to 2 years of forced labor and a 13-year probationary period. The brief hope for a breakthrough in this cold case faded, and the police were once again at a dead end. In December 2010, Tara Grinstead was officially declared deceased due to the lack of new evidence or leads. Years passed, but the residents of Ocilla never forgot Tara Grinstead's disappearance, though conversations about her grew less frequent. The topic was rarely brought up in daily life, remaining behind closed doors. The town was forever changed, with fear and distrust deeply entrenched in the local community. However, in 2016, something happened that brought Tara back into public conversation. Journalist Payne Lindsay from Atlanta launched his podcast, Up and Vanished, dedicated to unsolved mysteries, and chose Tara Grinstead's case for its inaugural season. Lindsay, along with private investigator Morris Godwin, traveled to Ocilla to start a fresh investigation. Without access to police records, they relied solely on information from the town's residents. Initially, Only Tara's friends and family were willing to speak, but Lindsay's enthusiasm reignited interest in the case, and soon, Ocilla's residents began to discuss it actively once more. Lindsay and Godwin pursued every possible lead, talking to anyone who might have useful information. They were so engrossed in the case that several times they felt a breakthrough was imminent. On one occasion, Lindsay received a call from an anonymous person suggesting they search for remains on Tara's property. Police conducted a search, and while bones were found, forensic analysis quickly determined they belonged to an animal. Despite the renewed excitement, the podcast's investigation didn't lead to an immediate resolution of the case. Nevertheless, this amateur investigation ultimately proved crucial in the long-awaited breakthrough. And the unexpected resolution came in early 2017 when Brooke Sheridan walked into the police station. Her account stunned detectives who had by then lost hope of solving the case. Brooke told investigators that her ex-boyfriend, Bo Dukes, had once confessed to her that he helped a friend dispose of Tara Grinstead's body. The young woman had repeatedly urged him to confess, but he remained silent. Police, after hearing Brooke's story, proceeded cautiously. They asked her to wear a wire and go to Dukes to elicit a confession. It worked. Bo Dukes didn't deny his involvement, providing police with grounds for his arrest. To their surprise, Dukes immediately cooperated with investigators, laying all his cards on the table. Detectives later remarked that he likely was simply tired of living with the burden. According to the testimony, late one evening, Bo Dukes received a call from his friend and former classmate, Ryan Duke. Ryan asked to borrow his truck and help with something, adding, "I broke into Tara Grinstead's house to steal some money, but something went wrong, and I killed her." According to Ryan's initial statement to investigators, after a party, he went for a drive while under the influence of illegal substances. He then decided to break into someone's house to steal money. Using a credit card to open the door, he entered and began searching for cash. Tara noticed him, a struggle ensued, and only Ryan emerged alive. When Bo Dukes arrived at Tara's house in his truck, they loaded her body and drove it to a forest, where they disposed of it over several days, burning it in a pecan orchard in Ben Hill County. This story shocked the residents of Ocilla, as neither Bo Dukes nor Ryan Duke had ever been considered suspects. They had no obvious motive, and there were no clues linking them to Tara's disappearance. Despite his initial confession, Bo Dukes did not testify against himself in court. In 2019, he appeared before Tara's relatives, crying and apologizing for his actions. Although Bo Dukes was a military veteran with numerous commendations, the court delivered its verdict: 25 years in prison for helping conceal the crime, hindering apprehension, and tampering with evidence. As for Ryan Duke, his trial concluded in May 2022. The jury acquitted him of murder but found him guilty of concealing a death, sentencing him to 10 years in prison. Although Ryan recanted his initial confession in court, claiming he lied out of fear and that Bo Dukes committed the murder, his guilt in concealing the death was proven. While bone fragments were found in the pecan orchard, DNA analysis yielded inconclusive results. As of early 2025, an appeals court has overturned some of the remaining charges against Ryan and Bo Dukes, citing statute of limitations issues. Now that the truth about this high-profile case has finally emerged, Tara Grinstead's friends and family have been freed from the burden of the unknown. Her mother admitted that for all those years, she secretly hoped for a miracle, that her daughter would return alive. Alas, reality proved cruel, senseless, and devoid of miracles. At least now, the world knows exactly what happened in that small town back in 2005.